Hey, Mike with D2D Millionaire here. And have you ever had someone ask you who is it while you're selling door to door and weren't really sure how to respond? Well, today's video I'll be going through what to do when someone asks you who is it, and then also some different tips you can use to improve your results while selling door to door. So stay tuned. Now, there's definitely some advantages to selling door to door and also some disadvantages. Now, one of the disadvantages that you have kind of going into it is that most people, as you approach their home and knock on their doors, they don't really know who you are, right? You're not a welcome guest, you're uninvited, and you're there to sell something, right? So typically that will cause someone to raise their resistance, raise their guard, and maybe not be open to hearing you out and what you have to offer. And so this is where that objection or that concern, or where you might run into someone asking you, who is it while you're knocking door to door. And so if you ever get that, there's a simple way to overcome that, and then also a really great strategy you can use to get better results in general while selling door to door. Now, again, it all comes down to your initial approach and how you reach out to someone when they answer the door. So one thing to really keep in mind is that typically most people are going to do business with those that they know, like, and trust when everything else is equal. And so you want to find a way to create that rapport, build that trust very quickly while selling door to door. So again, like I said, you come into it kind of at that disadvantage, but there's also a great advantage while selling door to door, and that's basically that you can tap into name dropping, which is a way to very quickly build trust, build rapport while selling door to door. And so what is that? Well, basically name dropping is you're going to talk about either existing customers, people that just got started on your product and service, people that you've just recently talked to in the neighborhood, and use their names while talking to new potential customers. Now, again, you definitely don't want to mislead people and tell people that someone is a customer when they really aren't, but there's nothing really wrong telling somebody that you just talked to one of their neighbors, and then you're also here to tell the other neighbors about what your offer is. So, for example, you might say something like, hey, I was just talking to the Joneses down the street. We're here in the neighborhood, letting the other neighbors know about the special offer that we have going on right now for the next couple of people that take advantage of those spots that we have open tomorrow to get those orders filled. Something like that, right? And so again, you don't necessarily say, hey, the Joneses were customers if they weren't. But again, ideally, you can go into a neighborhood that already has one or two existing customers and then really branch off from those customers. A higher level way to even do it is if you just got someone started that was a neighbor and you have their application, you can kind of flash that, be like, hey, the Smiths down the street just got started with us and we're just letting the other neighbors know, blah, 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 right? And then you kind of transition into your sales pitch, your value build. And so name dropping is a very effective way to build that trust and credibility and rapport with your potential customer while selling door to door. So definitely take advantage of it and have that thrown in with your initial approach. Now, back to the question of how do you handle when someone asks you who is it? It's tying in name dropping with this strategy. So again, if somebody asks you who is it, you just simply want to say who you are. So you could be like, hey, this is Mike with great internet service, and we were just talking to the Smiths down the street. Do you have a second? Something like that. Or you don't necessarily even need to say your company name. You could just say who you are, right? So you'd be like, hey, this is Mike. I was just talking to the Joneses down the street. Do you have a second? Or we thought we'd drop by, whatever the case might be, name dropping to get them to at least open the door and start engaging that conversation. Now, again, something really simple to keep in mind, but a lot of sales reps tend to forget this, is that you want to be spending time with the right people. That's one of the major reasons a lot of door-to-door sales reps struggle, is they try and convince every single person, even if they're not interested and open to their offer and what they're selling. So again, you end up spending a lot of time with people that are never actually going to buy and don't really have an interest in buying, rather than going through more numbers, talking to qualified people, talking to people that are interested in what you have, that have a much higher probability of buying, rather than just trying to convince everyone that they need your product, that they should buy, when they really don't want to. So again, tapping into this idea, when you're knocking door to door and someone asks who is it, and if you name drop, you tell them who you are, and they just don't answer, again, it's not a big deal. Your time is better spent on people that are actually interested in what you have and talking to those people, because the likelihood that they're going to buy from you is much higher than someone that already has their guard up, they don't even want to answer the door, and trying to convince them that they should answer the door and they should buy from you. So again, it's a simple technique that you can use. You name drop, you can mention your company, you can talk about who you are and why you're there, the special discount that you're offering. And again, if somebody isn't into that, they're not open to that, they still have their guard up, they're standoffish, they don't want to talk to you, just move on. It's not a big deal. There's so many people out there, there's so many more people you can talk to. But when you follow that initial approach of telling them who you are, your company, name dropping, and what your special offer is, it does a great job of building that rapport, gives you a valid reason to be in the neighborhood, and more often than not, the people you're talking to are going to hear you out, and at least then you can determine from there, based on their response, if they're a good fit and worth your time, or if you should just move on to the next door and talk to someone else that would be a better fit for what you have to offer. So again, hopefully you got some value and benefit from this video. Feel free to comment and share if you did. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, be sure to do that to make sure you get the latest door-to-door sales tips and training. And then also, if you happen to be considering a new door-to-door sales opportunity, be sure to head on over to d2dmillionaire.com/work with D2D. Our team is hiring and expanding. We're looking for some new leaders to work with our organization. So if you feel like that could be you, be sure to head on over to d2dmillionaire.com/work with D2D and just fill out the form over there, and one of our team members will get back to you as soon as we can to see if there might be a fit working together. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you more soon.